If you are an entrepreneur, a C-suite executive, or a high-performance individual crushing 14-hour days, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now and listen closely, because we need to talk about a hidden crisis happening inside your system. Every single day, you might be executing what you sincerely believe is a premier, healthy routine to maximize your output, crush your corporate goals, and outpace your competition. But here is the brutal truth that your high-end wearable tech is desperately trying to tell you through those flashing dashboards. You are unknowingly walking directly into a dangerous psychological and physiological trap that is actively destroying your cognitive equity and draining your daily energy levels. I see this exact scenario playing out constantly in my advisory work with elite founders here at Solvia Wellness. I meet brilliant, hyper-successful minds who are completely baffled as to why their morning executive focus feels totally depleted, despite tracking what looks like a full, uninterrupted night of sleep. The reality is that your generic, unstabilized stimulant habits and intense lifestyle choices are throwing a massive wrench directly into your internal biological clock. Instead of allowing your system to enter a deep state of neural restoration where your processing power is reset, you are forcing your cellular batteries to continuously leak energy throughout the entire night, leaving you completely vulnerable to a catastrophic crash. Your smartwatch or recovery ring is not lying to you when it shows your daily readiness scores plunging straight into the red zone. Your body is literally treating your daily routine as a continuous operational state of emergency. This is the active, systematic sabotage of your deepest recovery state, the exact zone where your brain cleanses itself and locks in your daily strategic edge. If you want to stop bleeding performance, protect your health span, and reclaim your absolute cognitive dominance, you cannot afford to ignore this warning. Stay with me until the very end of this video, because we are going to walk through, review, and ruthlessly eliminate all 7 of these hidden biometric killers, giving you the exact blueprint to reset your system and operate at peak capacity starting tomorrow morning. Before we dive deep into the molecular chemistry and rewrite your performance blueprint, I have a rapid question for you. Which U.S. city or state are you currently watching this from and optimizing your high-performance life in? Drop your exact location in the comments below right now, because I want to see exactly where our Solvia Wellness network of elite founders, innovators, and executives is building the future. Now, why does your physical location and daily environment matter so much to your cognitive output? Because no matter where you are running your business empire from, your mental focus is entirely dependent on a delicate, highly sensitive pipeline inside your head. When you flood your system with pure, isolated caffeine to crush your morning metrics, you think you are simply flipping a power switch to turn on your brain, but you are actually radically altering the entire plumbing network that supplies your consciousness. To truly understand what is happening inside your mind, think of your brain's network of blood vessels as a high-speed fiber optic data cable, or a massive highway infrastructure supplying your prefrontal cortex, the exact region where you make your high-stakes, multi-million-dollar strategic decisions. When you dump massive, unbuffered amounts of caffeine into your system without a molecular stabilizer, it doesn't just wake you up, it acts like a strict security protocol that suddenly throttles your data bandwidth. It forces those vital internal pipelines to clamp down and narrow significantly. You might feel an immediate surge of raw, hyper-focused alertness, but underneath the surface, you have just choked off a massive percentage of the oxygen and nutrient delivery line to your brain's main processor. You are essentially demanding that your organic supercomputer run at maximum speed while you are actively starving it of its primary fuel. This structural narrowing creates a dangerous neurological paradox where your mind is forced to operate in a low-oxygen, high-alert state. Your internal alarm bells are screaming, forcing your cellular batteries to work in an artificial crisis mode just to keep up with your daily workload. The inevitable penalty hits you hard later in the afternoon. When you look down at your wearable gadget's recovery scores, you will see a telltale spike in your resting heart rate and a dramatic drop in your overall system readiness. You are operating on a borrowed, highly unstable state of panic that results in rapid mental fatigue, a dangerously narrow field of view, and a completely blunted capacity for risk assessment. As a high-performance individual, running your enterprise with a choked and starved brain processor isn't just highly inefficient, it is an absolute liability to your long-term health span and your executive legacy. Let's unlock the hard, mechanical data behind caffeine-induced narrowing, a hidden physiological tax that almost every high-achieving executive blindly pays every single morning. Top-tier medical research from institutions like Harvard demonstrates a startling reality. Unbuffered caffeine can instantly choke your cerebral blood flow by up to 20 to 30%. Think of your brain as a premium, state-of-the-art server room that requires an immense, continuous cooling and fuel pipeline to process complex algorithmic data. When you ingest isolated caffeine, it acts exactly like a rogue software command that forces the valves on those primary fuel lines to violently clamp shut. You are essentially demanding that your organic supercomputer execute high-stakes, multi-million-dollar decisions while you are actively throttling its bandwidth and starving it of critical resources. The reason you don't immediately notice this internal bottleneck is because caffeine masks the damage by overriding your brain's natural low-battery warning system. It tricks your mind into feeling intensely alert, but it is a highly deceptive, low-voltage state of panic. Because your internal pipelines are narrowed, your blood pressure within the brain spikes, forcing your cellular batteries to burn through their energy reserves at an unsustainable, hyper-accelerated rate. It is the exact equivalent of redlining a luxury sports car while intentionally cutting off its coolant supply. For an entrepreneur or executive who relies on rapid processing speed, sharp creative intuition, and flawless risk assessment, this restricted state is a catastrophic design flaw that actively degrades your cognitive equity. The direct proof of this vascular throttling will show up explicitly on your wearable tech and your daily performance metrics. Because your brain is starved of a full oxygen supply, your autonomic nervous system reads this restriction as a severe internal crisis, causing your gadget's recovery scores to plunge and forcing your resting heart rate to climb. You might survive the morning board meeting on sheer willpower and adrenaline, but by 2 p.m., the bill comes due. Your brain completely runs out of fuel, plunging you into a brutal afternoon slump characterized by heavy brain fog, irritability, and an inability to focus. If you want to build a lasting professional legacy and extend your cognitive prime, you must stop treating your brain like a cheap machine you can simply whip with stimulants. You must learn to master the logistics of your internal pipeline. This is the exact threshold where advanced biohacking completely overrides basic, uninspired nutrition, and it is a non-negotiable protocol that I continuously drill into the minds of the elite founders I consult here at Solvia Wellness. When you introduce a premium amino acid called L-theanine into your system alongside your morning caffeine, a beautiful molecular synergy occurs that completely rewrites how your brain handles energy. Think of L-theanine as the ultimate high-tech stabilizer for your mental engine. Instead of allowing caffeine to act as a reckless tyrant that aggressively narrows your brain's internal highway, L-theanine steps in as the master coordinator. It forces the walls of your cerebral blood vessels to completely relax and widen, neutralizing the restriction and keeping your brain's oxygen superhighway wide open. By keeping that vital pipeline wide open, you are effectively ensuring that your brain's main processor receives a steady, uninterrupted flood of oxygen and vital nutrients, even while running at peak capacity. This means you completely eliminate the hidden biological friction that forces your cognitive engine to overheat and sputter out by mid-afternoon. Your wearable gadgets will instantly reflect this internal harmony, showing a beautifully stabilized resting heart rate and a recovery score that refuses to tank. It is the literal difference between forcing your mind to crawl through a congested bottleneck and letting it fly down an open, unrestricted track where strategic insights can be processed at lightning speed. But the real magic of this precise combination lies in how it perfectly smooths out your entire neurochemical curve. You see, when you balance these two elements correctly, they complement each other perfectly. giving you all of the intense, razor-sharp focus of your premium stimulant, but completely stripping away the chaotic jitteriness, the pounding chest, and the inevitable energy crash that ruins your evening execution. You are no longer borrowing energy from tomorrow to barely survive the afternoon. You are actively optimizing your daily cognitive equity. This synergy allows your cellular batteries to drain at a smooth, predictable rate, keeping your strategic edge locked in for hours on end while preserving your health span for the long game. To truly protect your executive longevity, we have to look at how this molecular synergy alters the very foundation of your energy architecture, your autonomic nervous system. When you consume isolated caffeine, it acts like a hostile corporate takeover of your internal power grid. It slams your system into an aggressive fight-or-flight mode, driving up your internal panic metrics, spiking your baseline stress hormones, and violently throwing off your heart rate variability. For an entrepreneur or executive who is already operating under intense real-world market pressure, this artificial internal chaos is a recipe for disaster. It drains your cellular batteries at a terrifying hyper-accelerated rate, leaving you operating on high-strung, brittle adrenaline rather than actual sustainable power. This is exactly where the strategic deployment of L-theanine changes the entire game. By introducing this premium balancer into your morning stack, you effectively build an unbreachable shield around your internal power grid. Instead of letting caffeine run wild and trip your body's emergency alarms, L-theanine steps in to smoothly activate your body's relaxation and recovery mechanisms. It quietly tones down the internal static and balances out those chaotic, jittery stress signals in the brain. It is the literal equivalent of having a world-class executive assistant who filters out all the distracting noise, allowing you to maintain an absolute state of calm, composed, and deliberate execution, even in the middle of a high-stakes business crisis. The immediate payout of this internal balance is a completely optimized performance profile that you can actively track on your data screens. Because your nervous system is no longer screaming in a state of artificial emergency, your resting heart rate stays perfectly level, and your gadget's recovery scores remain locked in the green. You get to enjoy the raw, laser-focused bandwidth of caffeine, but with the steady, unshakable composure of an elite chess master. There is no pounding chest, no anxious background static, and absolutely no catastrophic afternoon crash. You are no longer violently whipping your system for short-term gains. You are running your cognitive machinery at maximum efficiency while actively protecting your long-term health span. To truly unlock elite cognitive output and protect your mental equity, you must pair this vascular protection with a highly critical component, your brain's premium focus fuel. Think of your mind during a high-stakes corporate negotiation or complex data analysis as a high-powered machine running transmission fluid. This fluid is what allows your brain cells to fire at lightning speed, directly controlling your short-term memory, your sharp processing bandwidth, and your split-second strategic decision-making. The brutal reality for every ambitious entrepreneur watching this is that the harder you push your cognitive engine, the faster you burn through this mental fluid. By mid-afternoon, after hours of relentless problem-solving and executive stress, your internal tank is running completely dry. You aren't actually losing your intelligence or your drive. You have simply exhausted the raw chemical fuel that keeps your internal gears moving smoothly, leaving your mental processor running completely on empty. This is where the strategic deployment of a high-grade donor like alpha-GPC completely rewrites your performance curve. Your brain has an incredibly strict security gate designed to block out unwanted materials, which makes standard, low-grade nutritional supplements practically useless for quick cognitive replenishment. Alpha-GPC, however, acts like a VIP security pass or an express delivery vehicle. It effortlessly glides straight through those internal security gates to immediately deliver a massive supply of raw building blocks directly into your brain's manufacturing center. It instantly replenishes that depleted mental transmission fluid right when your cognitive engine needs it most. Instead of forcing your system into a sluggish shutdown to slowly rebuild its fuel reserves, you are actively refueling your main processor in real time, keeping your cellular batteries firing at full capacity without any biological delay. The real-world payload of this neurochemical optimization is an absolute, unshakable mental clarity that lasts throughout your entire 14-hour workday.
When your internal tank is fully stocked with this premium focus fuel, your memory recall becomes instantaneous. Your cognitive processing speed remains flawless, and you maintain the ability to execute complex, high-level decisions without hitting that heavy wall of mental exhaustion. You completely eliminate that frustrating afternoon drag where you find yourself reading the same data metrics 3 times just to comprehend the strategy. On your wearable devices, your gadget's recovery scores will explicitly show that your system is maintaining deep, stable operational efficiency instead of burning out from chemical starvation. By fueling your brain with this precise, metric-driven strategy, you are no longer just forcing your way through the day on sheer willpower. You are upgrading the literal capacity of your cognitive machine and protecting your longevity.
Alpha GPC is far more than just a temporary fuel injection for your mental engine. It acts as an elite structural engineer for your entire brain architecture. To truly understand its power, think of your brain cells not just as soft tissue, but as an incredibly intricate network of high-speed fiber optic data cables responsible for firing multi-million-dollar decisions across your enterprise. Over time, the grueling, relentless demands of executive life can cause the protective insulation around these internal data lines to wear thin, leading to signal leaks, cognitive lag, and slower processing speeds. When you introduce this high-grade donor into your system, its essential components are instantly integrated directly into the physical walls of your brain cells. It is the literal equivalent of reinforcing your internal data cables with premium, military-grade insulation, ensuring that no cellular voltage is lost and that every strategic signal inside your mind fires with absolute, uninterrupted velocity. This structural reinforcement does far more than just protect your existing hardware. It actively accelerates your internal communication speed and unlocks your system's natural ability to dynamically rewire itself under heavy pressure. Peer-reviewed data confirms that this specific structural upgrade works in perfect tandem with your body's natural growth factors, essentially paving new, ultra-fast highways for information to travel. In the volatile landscape of modern business, your competitive edge depends entirely on your mind's ability to adapt to sudden market shifts and master complex variables on the fly. By fortifying the literal walls of your brain cells, you are upgrading your hardware's flexibility, allowing your mind to build new mental circuits and archive strategic frameworks effortlessly. You are no longer just forcing an exhausted, overtaxed processor to its absolute limits. You are actively evolving the physical machine itself to handle a massive cognitive workload with total ease. The long-term payload of this structural optimization is the ultimate protection of your cognitive equity and the radical extension of your professional prime. When you track your data over months of high-level execution, you will see the undeniable proof right on your screens. Your baseline mental resilience stays exceptionally high, and your gadget's recovery scores will show that your system is no longer suffering from structural burnout or cellular decay at the end of a grueling week. You are essentially safeguarding your human hard drive against the physical wear and tear of chronic executive stress. At Solvia Wellness, we do not tolerate short-term performance spikes that leave your internal hardware compromised and broken down. We biohack for legacy. By ensuring your cellular walls are pristine, fortified, and built to withstand the pressure, you secure a razor-sharp mind that will continue to dominate the boardroom not just for the next quarter, but for decades to come. To protect your executive longevity and stop your cognitive performance from bleeding out, we must now ruthlessly review and identify the 7 hidden biometric killers that are actively hacking your internal operating system. First on the list is isolated caffeine megadosing on an empty stomach. When you slam down pure, unbuffered coffee, you are handing a reckless tyrant control over your brain's internal highway, causing immediate vascular narrowing and data throttling. Second is late-day stimulant consumption past 12 p.m. Even if you can fall asleep effortlessly, that residual caffeine continues to choke your sleep receptors, completely halting your evening maintenance cycle.
Third is choline depletion, which is the dangerous habit of driving an intense cognitive workload without supplementing alpha-GPC, leaving your brain completely starved of its vital focus fluid and forcing your internal gears to grind in a state of chemical starvation. The fourth killer is relying on synthetic pre-workout crashers filled with cheap, artificial stimulants that violently spike your baseline stress hormones and permanently lock your gadget's recovery scores into a deep red warning zone. Fifth is dehydration-induced constriction. Neglecting your daily electrolyte and hydration logistics compounds caffeine's narrowing effect on your internal blood vessels, making your mental processor run dangerously hot. Sixth is allowing yourself to get trapped in a state of chronic sympathetic hyperdrive. By constantly engaging in high-stakes problem-solving late into the evening, you keep your internal power grid locked in a continuous fight-or-flight emergency loop when it desperately needs to be downshifting into a deep, peaceful recharge. And finally, the seventh saboteur is the devastating post-stimulant energy crash. Failing to smooth out your neurochemical curve ensures that your internal power grid will experience a massive, sudden power drop by mid-afternoon, causing a brutal executive slump that completely wrecks your creative intuition. Look closely at your wearable tech metrics over the past month. If your daily readiness scores are consistently flagging a disaster zone, I guarantee you that one or more of these 7 hidden killers is actively running amok in your lifestyle architecture. It is time to stop playing reckless guessing games with your health span and ruthlessly purge these operational bugs from your daily routine, starting tomorrow morning. Now that we have ruthlessly exposed the hidden bugs in your system, it is time to deploy your premier tactical defense mechanism, which I call Protocol Alpha. This is a non-negotiable operational blueprint backed by cutting-edge human optimization data, specifically designed to forcefully override your system's performance glitches and build an unbreachable cognitive firewall. Stop drinking generic, isolated cups of coffee on an empty stomach first thing in the morning and expecting your brain to run flawlessly. Instead, I want you to reconstruct your morning ritual into a precise clinical science. Tomorrow morning, you are going to pair exactly 100 milligrams of clean caffeine with exactly 200 milligrams of pure high-grade L-theanine. This exact 2-to-1 neurovascular synergy ensures that your brain's primary fuel lines remain wide open, granting your mind unrestricted bandwidth from the very first hour of your workday. To turn this stack into a truly dominant cognitive powerhouse, you must immediately integrate the third critical component, exactly 300 milligrams of high-potency alpha-GPC. By introducing this elite choline donor alongside your stabilized caffeine, you are effectively performing an in-stride refueling of your brain's internal focus fluid. While the caffeine-theanine matrix keeps the oxygen superhighway wide open and your nervous system perfectly level, the alpha-GPC floods your system with the raw materials needed to top off your mental transmission fluid. You are essentially providing your organic supercomputer with premium insulation and maximum power at the exact same time. This removes all the internal friction that normally causes your mental gears to grind, allowing your thoughts to fire with absolute velocity while completely preventing that frustrating afternoon slump. The real-world payload of Protocol Alpha is an immediate, dramatic upgrade to your daily performance profile that you can actively verify on your data screens. Because you have balanced your neurochemical curve from the start, your cellular batteries will drain at an incredibly smooth, predictable rate throughout your entire 14-hour workday. There is absolutely no pounding chest, no anxious background static, and no sudden power drops that force you to lean on more stimulants just to survive. Your resting heart rate will remain beautifully stabilized, and your gadget's recovery scores will finally refuse to tank into the red zone. At Solvia Wellness, we don't biohack for a temporary high. We biohack to extend your professional prime and protect your health span. By implementing Protocol Alpha, you lock in an unshakable, bulletproof focus that allows you to dominate the boardroom while actively safeguarding your cognitive legacy. The final step in mastering your human machinery is Protocol Beta, which is your system's non-negotiable kinetic tracking and autonomic calibration sequence. Biohacking without real-time data is just expensive guesswork, and as an elite executive, you cannot afford to play games with your cognitive equity. Once you implement Protocol Alpha's neurovascular stack, your absolute mandate is to ruthlessly monitor how your body responds underneath the hood. Look past the subjective feeling of being focused and look directly at the hard metrics displayed on your wearable tech screens. Pay obsessive attention to your resting heart rate trends and your morning heart rate variability scores. This tracking acts exactly like running a continuous diagnostic scan on a high-performance racing car, providing you with the cold, unvarnished truth about your internal operating efficiency. When your system is perfectly calibrated via this metric-driven strategy, you will witness a profound, undeniable shift in your daily performance charts. Instead of seeing the chaotic, volatile, jagged peaks and sudden drop-offs of a standard stimulant-fueled workday, your energy levels will manifest as a beautifully stable, linear line of absolute cognitive dominance. You will find your mind operating with razor-sharp precision for 6 to 8 hours straight, maintaining full processing speed and strategic intuition without a single jitter, anxious spike, or mid-afternoon energy slump.
For the first time, your system will be executing high-level corporate warfare without bleeding power or overtaxing its core engine, keeping your internal operating systems perfectly balanced from market open to market close. The ultimate payload of Protocol Beta is that your gadget's recovery scores will finally remain locked firmly in the green zone, completely independent of how brutal your boardroom battles were the day before. By shifting your lifestyle from reckless stimulant abuse to precise, calculated neurovascular calibration, you are effectively putting an end to the chronic biological wear and tear that accelerates aging. At Solvia Wellness, we build frameworks for long-term legacy. When you master both Protocol Alpha and Protocol Beta, you are no longer a passive bystander hoping your brain will cooperate. You become the absolute architect of your own biology, successfully extending your professional prime, protecting your health span, and dominating your executive landscape for decades to come.